Hello and welcome to this video for beginners, just to kind of touch base on some poses that we do in yoga and to kind of help you with the alignment for those poses. So we'll just get started in a comfortable seat. You don't need anything, no blocks or a blanket. So just sitting in a cross-legged position, whatever that looks like for you, however is comfortable. And then we're just going to sit up tall. And so what that means, the head will be over the heart and the shoulders will be over the hips. So just a nice long spine. And then maybe you take a minute or a few seconds, just roll the shoulders down the back. A lot of people tend to hold stress in the shoulders and the hips. So I try to remind people during my class to lower the shoulders, relax the shoulders, because I myself tend to hold them up here. So we just roll them down the back, head over heart, shoulders over hips. And then you can close your eyes if it's comfortable, or just kind of gaze out over the nose. Maybe the hands are on the legs. And so at the beginning of a yoga class, we just start to focus on the breath. And what that does, it gets you into your body. So we're not thinking about what we were doing before we came to our mat. We're not thinking about what we need to do after we get done practicing. We just use the breath as a tool to go from the mind to the body, to come into this moment. So you're breathing, you're focusing on the chest, the lungs, where the breath is. You notice the inhale. Maybe you notice the texture of your inhale. Maybe it's hard to breathe through your nose today, and that's fine. So maybe you take slow breaths in through the nose, but then you breathe out through the mouth. And then maybe you notice how the body moves against the mat as you breathe. Do your sit bones connect to the mat a little deeper when you exhale? Can you feel your legs on the mat, your feet? So just breathing normally in through the nose if it's comfortable, out through the nose or the mouth. And just being aware of you and your body on your mat. Keeping that alignment, sitting up tall. And then when you're ready, you can open the eyes if they're closed. And we're just going to inhale, bring the arms up overhead. So we just reach tall. Maybe the hands touch. And then we're going to exhale, bring the hands down to the heart. So this is kind of a resting position. So we're just going to kind of sit up nice and tall, and the sternum will touch the thumbs. And then we'll inhale again, bring the arms up. Exhale, hands back to heart center. Good, one more time. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Good. Now in yoga, we move our spine in all 6 directions. So that is your side stretches, your twists, and front and back. And so those are how we warm up. And so we'll get started by bringing the arms overhead again, inhaling. And then we're going to exhale. exhale, bring the right hand down to the mat, and we're going to reach over with the left arm, but we're going to reach up and over. So still keeping the integrity of the spine, that long spine, but reaching over to the right to stretch out that left side of the body. And then maybe you gaze up at the hand, or if that's not comfortable, you can gaze forward or even down if balance is an issue. And we're still breathing, so we're adding movement to the pose even though we're just sitting here. We're stretching and then we're breathing, which causes the body to move, which actually makes this pose a lot more beneficial. There's a lot more going on when we add the breath. And now we'll inhale, reach up tall again. And we're going to bring the left hand down and reach up and over with the right arm. So stretching into that right side of the body. Maybe gaze at the hand, and we're breathing in through the nose, maybe out through the nose or out through the mouth, whichever's comfortable. So we're adding movement, still stretching into that side because we're moving our lungs while we breathe. So inhale, filling them with air, and exhaling, contracting them. Good. Inhale, we'll reach up again, both hands. And now we're going to still sit nice and tall and twist to the right. So we'll bring that left hand to the outside of the right leg. Right hand's going to go back behind you, just sitting on the floor, kind of like a kickstand with a bicycle, just helping you sit up nice and tall. And then we're going to inhale. Imagine a string pulling the crown up through the head so you get really tall. And then exhale, maybe you twist a little bit deeper. Gaze over the right shoulder if it's comfortable. But it's not about twisting all the way around. We just want to feel that we are twisting in the body, and that'll look different for everybody. And so if you're twisting over to the right and you can't breathe, then you've gone too far. So even just right here, we're still twisting. And we're breathing, so we're adding that movement in, which adds more to the pose, even though we're just holding this position. Good. And then we're going to inhale, come back to center, arms come up. And still maintaining that long spine, we'll exhale to the left. So that left hand comes back behind you. I do tent fingers. I'll turn around so you can see. So the left hand is just back there like a kickstand on a bicycle, just helping you sit up. And our spine is really long and tall. We're not slouching. You can really feel that if you want to try it. Just try slouching. It doesn't feel the same. It should feel better with the spine straight. So again, we'll inhale nice and tall. Imagine that string pulling the crown of the head up. And then exhale, maybe we gaze a little bit more over that left shoulder. Good, being mindful that we can still breathe. And if not, we need to untwist a little bit. Good. And then when you're ready, we'll inhale, come back to center. Exhale, hands down to the sternum, thumbs to the sternum. Good. And now we'll come to all fours. So we've did our lateral stretches and our twist. Now we do our back bends and rounding the back. So we've worked the spine in all 6 directions. So coming to all fours, your wrist will be under your shoulders, knees are under your hips. And play around with the feet. Some people like to press the tops of the feet into the mat, or you can come up onto your toes. Personally, I like to come up onto my toes. I feel like it gives me a little bit more balance, a little bit more stability, but it's really up to you. We're going to, excuse me, we're going to do a few cat-cow. So our fingers are spread wide, and we're not slouching into this one, but we're not locking the elbows. We have strong arms, kind of pushing the floor away. Our shoulders are down away from the ears, so kind of bringing the shoulder blades back behind you. And as we inhale, we're going to gaze forward slightly. The tailbone is going to go up towards the ceiling, and the belly is going to drop down towards your mat. So if you've ever seen a cow standing out in a field, their belly is kind of lower to the ground, and that's kind of what we're going for. This is cow pose. Here's where we inhale, and feel free to add a little wiggle, a little movement. So really working into the spine. And then on the exhale, we're going to round the back. So the head will come down, gaze between the toes, and we're going to round the shoulders up towards the ceiling. The tailbone comes down towards the mat. So you look like a cat, a mad cat. This is cat pose. You know, a cat's kind of round their back when they're scared or something like that. That's what we're looking like here. And then we'll inhale, come back to that cow pose. So the shoulders down away from the ears, belly down, gaze forward, tailbone up towards the ceiling. Good. And then exhale, rounding the back into that cat position. So the head goes down, the back is up towards the sky. Good. Last time, inhale, coming to your cow, relaxing the shoulders. Good. Exhale, back to your cat. Good. Now we'll come back to that neutral all fours tabletop position. We call this tabletop as well because we look like a side table beside your couch. So our arms and our knees are the legs of the table. So from here, we're just going to kind of step back with the right foot. We're onto the right toes. We're just going to stretch out the calf. So again, check with the shoulders. Make sure we're not scrunched up and the shoulders are down. Shoulder blades are kind of squeezing together behind you. And then we're just going to kind of rock back and forth. So we're pushing that heel back over the toes, stretching out the calf muscle. So kind of rocking back and forth. Maintaining that tabletop position so you can kind of squeeze the belly button towards the spine. So firming up the abs to help support you. And then we'll bring that back in. Same thing other side. So take the left toes to the back of the mat. And we're just going to kind of rock back and forth. Take that heel back, stretching out the calf. Good. And then we'll bring that in, and now we're going to come into the famous down dog. So our hands are spread wide. We're going to come up onto our toes if you're not already there. And then we're going to push the knees up and then take the hips back and up. So the ears will come between the biceps, close to. The legs do not have to be straight. The heels do not have to touch the mat. So this is the first down dog of this practice. So your knees can be bent generously. Those hamstrings, those muscles in the back of the legs may be really tight. And so this is actually, we call this a resting pose, but it's actually a lot of upper body strength mostly. And again, we're going to try to relax the shoulders down away from the ears. So I know you're holding yourself up in your downward dog, but try to squeeze the shoulder blades behind you so the shoulders are away from the ears. And then you can pedal it out. So like we did with that calf stretch, just kind of bend one knee and straighten the other. So we're getting into the back of the legs. So your tailbone is up towards the sky. Gaze is between the feet. Good. And then when you're ready, we're going to walk our feet up to our hands. And we're going to come to a standing forward fold. Now, if those hamstrings are tight, you may not be able to touch the floor, and that's perfectly fine. So we're going to bend the knees a lot. Maybe you grab opposite elbows. So this is ragdoll pose, because we're just hanging out like a ragdoll. And if you have any lower back issues, you still want to activate the abs to kind of help support the back while we're hanging here. So bringing the belly button towards the spine. And we're just hanging out, so we're letting that stress roll off the back. Maybe shake the head yes, no. Good. And then we're going to inhale into a halfway lift. So what that means, we're not coming all the way up, we're just coming up halfway. And so my gaze is forward, just like an L shape. The back is kind of straight, the legs are kind of straightish unless your hamstrings are tight, then your knees are slightly bent. This is your halfway lift. We inhale here, and then we're going to exhale, fold forward again. So maybe your hands just come to the back of the thigh or the calves, on the shins, and just let the neck relax. Good. Now we're going to come up to standing, and for that, to protect the back, I like to bring the hips down, keep my head in line with my spine all the way down to my tailbone, and I come up, I bring my arms up overhead, hands can touch, and then we'll exhale, hands to heart center. So our head is pretty heavy, so I don't teach rolling up because it's hard on the cervical spine when you're bringing your head up last. To keep my head in line with my spine when I come up, a straight back. And so when you get to your mountain pose, we're going to stand with the feet about hip width apart, and we're going to do the same thing like when we started sitting down. Our head is going to be over our heart, shoulders are over our hips, so we're standing up really straight. This is actually a very activating pose. A lot of us, when we stand up, we kind of shift our weight from one leg to the other. So standing up straight is actually kind of a lot of work if you do it for a second, a few breaths. So there's actually a lot going on. So we're remembering here not to lock the knees, but we have strong thighs to help us stand. So kind of squeezing the thighs a little bit, or they say raising the kneecap. So we're just activating those thighs. Head over heart, shoulders over hips. So our shoulders are down and back, away from the ears. Your tailbone, you're going to kind of bring the tailbone forward. You're going to kind of just sweep the pelvis. The top of the pelvis kind of goes back. The tailbone goes down towards the floor, kind of towards the front of your mat. I'll turn sideways so you can see. This is mountain pose, so head over heart, shoulders over hips. Standing hip width apart with our feet. And let's just take a couple breaths here. So just feel into this, see how this feels. To just stand perfectly straight, so bring that awareness back to the breath. Coming out of the mind. Standing nice and strong in your mountain pose. Good. And now we'll come into some standing postures. We'll start with low lunge. So what we'll do for that one, I like to step back into poses. So we will come to the top of your mat. And we're just going to inhale, bring the arms up overhead. Maybe the hands touch overhead. So still in that mountain, tailbone is tucked, nice and tall, strong. And then as we exhale, I'm going to bring my hands down to the heart center. So thumbs touch the sternum. And I'm going to step back with my right foot. And I'm going to bring my right knee down to the mat. This is low lunge. Now this is kind of challenging for the balance. For your balance. So we're going to scoot the left foot over towards the left, and so we're kind of on railroad tracks, and that helps with our balance. And then you can come up onto the toes on that right foot as well. And so your legs are going to be in 90-degree angles. And so there's a lot going on here. So we start with the feet. So we've scooted our left foot over. We're on our toes. We have balance. You can also try pressing into the top of the foot. See if that's better for you. And then low lunge, we're just going to bring the arms up. Now what this pose does, I teach it to strengthen up the front thigh. So I will have you inhale here. So reaching up tall, inhaling. And then exhale, leaning the hips down and forward. And we're not just sinking into the bones. We're still activating the thighs. So I teach this to strengthen the thigh. So we're putting some weight on that front thigh. But we're also stretching out the hips. So we're creating strength in that front hip because we're using the thigh to hold us here and not the bone. And then we're stretching out that opposite hip. So we're creating strength in both hips. And you may feel this in the back of the leg as well. And so we'll just take another breath here, another inhale. Good. And then we're going to push back up, kind of in that neutral, so the legs are 90 degrees again. And then I'm going to exhale, bring my hands down beside the front foot. And I teach this a lot. And so putting hands on the ground helps with balance. And then I'm just going to straighten out my front leg. So I'm going to scoot that left foot forward so I can straighten out the leg. And I come up onto my heel, flex my foot so I can straighten the leg a little bit more. But I'm also stretching into the back of the leg. And you can keep your hands on the mat for balance. Nice strong thigh on that right leg. You can also bring the hands up to the thigh and the shin. And this does create a little challenge to the balance. So if you want to keep the hands down on the mat, you can. You can even bring the sit bones onto that back heel if that creates more balance. We'll take one breath here. So relaxing those shoulders. And the leg doesn't have to be completely straight. If your hamstrings are tight, there'll be a bend in the knee. Good. And then we're going to come back up. And now we're just going to step up with this back foot. So just take your time, just stepping up, coming into that standing forward fold. Good. And then we're going to stand all the way up. So we're going to inhale. I take my hips down, head in line with my spine. I bring my arms up. Exhale, my hands to heart center. Okay, now we're going to do the other side. So we'll inhale again, reach up with the arms. And as we exhale, step back with the left foot. Come down to the left knee. And if there's a little challenge to the balance as you step back, take your time. And then we're just going to scoot the right foot over to the side of the mat. So we've got plenty of room and a wider foundation, which really helps with balance. So we're coming onto the left toes, or you can press into the top of the foot, whichever feels better. And we're going to raise the arms again. So raising the arms, it adds a little weight to the pose. You can also bring the hands to heart center if that helps better with balance. And so here we'll take an inhale. We have a nice strong thigh. Both thighs are kind of squeezing. So we're kind of pulling this right heel towards the left knee. Not really, just energetically. So we're engaging the muscles. So we're trying to slide them towards each other, the heel and the knee. And so that engages your thighs. And so take an inhale. And then we're going to exhale. Let's lean forward onto that front thigh. So we're activating that thigh. We're squeezing it. So we're not just sinking into the hip bone. We're using the thigh to support us. And the back thigh is activated as well. Good. And then when you're ready, we're going to inhale, push up with that front thigh. Back to our 90-degree legs, neutral position. And then bring the hands down beside the foot. And then we're going to scoot the right foot forward so we can straighten out the leg. So we'll flex the foot, bring the toes towards the knee. And if your hamstrings are tight, your leg may not be very straight, and that's fine. So you have the option to keep the hands on the mat or up on the thigh, or maybe even bring the sit bones down towards the back heel. And then we'll take a breath here. Good. And now we'll come back up. So walk the hands back up, and then we're going to step up with the left foot coming back to your standing forward fold. Good. And then when you're ready, we're going to inhale, take our time, stand all the way up, reach tall with the hands. Exhale, hands to heart center. Do 2 more standing poses. So from here, again, we'll inhale the arms up. And then we're going to exhale, step back with the right foot like we did before. But we're going to stay standing up, coming into Warrior One. So our front knee is bent. Again, scooting that left foot over towards the left. So we're on railroad tracks and not a tightrope. So we're not lined up completely. That makes it harder with balance. So we're scooting over. Our right foot is toward the right side of the mat. Left foot is toward the left side. Now your right toes are going to be in towards the right side, the right corner of the mat. Your heel is back behind you. Front knee is bent over the ankle. Now at first this might be a lot, so maybe we straighten the knee a little bit, whatever feels best for you. And so now your hips are kind of facing that front right corner of the mat, but we're going to turn our upper body forwards and then bring the arms up. This is Warrior One. And so now we have weight on the outer pinky edge toe of that back foot, all of the front foot. Our front thigh is activated. And again, we're bringing that tailbone kind of down towards the ground, activating the abs so the belly button is squeezing back towards the spine. Arms can come up, or maybe they feel better at heart center. Good. Take an inhale, adding movement to our posture with our breath. Good. And now we're going to inhale, bring the arms up. And as we exhale, we're going to open up to our Warrior Two. So we're going to take the arms and open up to the right. So the hips will move a little bit in space because we're rotating. Okay. So your hips may have opened up a little bit there. So you might want to take the right leg back just a little bit. Give yourself a little bit more room. But our right toes are still facing the front right corner of the mat. Hips are still facing the front right corner. Torso is facing the right side of the mat. And then we're going to gaze out over that left middle finger. So again, we're going to check with that front knee. We need it to be over the ankle and not falling in, because we can pull that outside muscle when we do that, putting some weight on that thigh. We need to make sure it's out over the ankle. So here's our Warrior Two. Let's take a breath. Shoulders down away from the ears. Head over heart. Good. Now gaze is over the front hand. If you have any balance issues, you can also kind of just gaze down, gaze just ahead of the mat. Good. And now we're going to inhale. We're going to come up into a star position. So we're turning the left toes around to face the long edge of the mat. And we look like a star. Then we're going to shift our toes over to the right. We're going to come now to the back of our mat. And we're going to come into Warrior Two on this side. So our front knee is bent over the ankle. Our left toes are facing the front left corner of the mat. Hips face front left corner of the mat. Upper body is opened up to our left. Again, you can scoot the right foot over towards the right edge of the mat, so you're on those railroad tracks and not the tightrope. Gazing out over that Front middle finger, knee over the ankle. Strong thighs, tailbone is tucked kind of down towards the mat. Taking a deep breath. You can also check that back arm. Make sure it's not flying up or down. It's perfectly in line, close to, in line with the front arm. Good. Take a breath. And now we're going to bring that back arm in front of us. So the hips are going to kind of shift a little bit more forward, still kind of facing the front left corner of the mat. And then arms come straight up. We're coming into that warrior one. So the front knee is still bent. Weight is on the outer pinky toe edge of the back foot. Arms can be straight up. Torso is facing forward, or you can bring the thumbs to the sternum. This is still warrior one. Head over heart. Good. And then when you're ready, we're going to open back up to our warrior two. So opening up, and then we're going to turn those right toes to face the long edge of the mat. And then we're going to just bring the feet together. So heel toe, one at a time if you prefer. Just bring the feet together, coming into a standing posture. We'll close here. So coming back to your mountain pose. Bring the feet together this time if that feels okay. Just stand up nice and tall. Bring the hands to the heart. So thumbs are on the sternum, head over heart, shoulders over hips, relaxing the shoulders. Taking some deep breaths, checking in. Notice how you feel after your practice. And maybe you thank yourself for practicing today, and I thank you for joining me for this class for beginners. I hope I explained some of the poses a little bit more thoroughly. You can comment if you have any questions or if you'd like any other videos. And thank you for your time. Namaste.